Well, let's talk for the next few minutes to Sadik's daughter. You saw her there in the piece, Zana Duraku, and also to Michael Polak, who's a lawyer for justice abroad. Thank you, both of you, for coming here into the studio to talk to us. Zana, to you, first of all. Tell me, how's your father doing?
I mean, how good can you be doing, really, when all of this is going on? He's trying to stay strong, and whenever we do talk to him, he's talking about how he's trying to adjust, but with everything going on, with being in there far longer than he had expected or ever thought would be possible, his morale is just sort of plummeting. Each week we're talking to him, it's more disappointment, more stress and more sadness, really, at what's going on.
So drowning with everything that's going on around him. In terms of the family, there must have been huge shock, because he's visited many times before, but in terms of the moment you heard about the arrest and the impact that has had.
I mean, when we heard about it, it feels unreal. You're just sort of thrust into this situation that you never in a million years thought you'd be in, and you don't have the tools or facilities to really navigate that situation. I think there was a lot of sort of belief, oh, we'll be fine, things will work out, because how can it turn into what it can possibly turn into? And as things keep, dragging on, it's just that hope and that reality setting in that this is what's happening.
Michael, let me bring you in terms of what he is facing, war crimes essentially. What are the authorities saying to you about the nature of the allegations?
Well, we have an indictment in relation to the case against him, and it sets out a range of war crimes. They say he was part of the Kosovan Liberation Army. That evidence that the indictment is based on seems to be a letter which was sent in to the Serbian authorities. It's in a Serbian name. We haven't been able to identify this person. It gives an address in Germany. It doesn't seem to be a real address. It's an industrial centre in Germany. We don't know if it's been created or if someone with a grudge against Mr Duraku has sent it in. But it's very scarce evidence to base a war crimes prosecution upon.
And am I right that when he was arrested on that day, about 1,000 other people were arrested? Many of them have actually been released. Is that the case?
That's right. There's a flare-up in tension between Serbia and Kosovo, because the Council of Europe announced that Kosovo would become a member of the organisation in the future. And the Serbian authorities arrested a lot of people who've been released. Mr Duraku, unfortunately, is still in prison.
Zana, I know in terms of the campaign, and you've got a petition that you've started, the family have been saying, in terms of the timeline here, it is impossible for him to have been there at the time the authorities say he committed these war crimes. Tell me more about that.
Well, we came to the UK in 1998, and once we got here, we began our asylum applications. When we got here as well, we didn't really have any ID, so we couldn't have left the country during the period in which we were doing those applications and waiting for the response of those applications. We were granted indefinite leave to remain in 2002, so from 1998 to 2002, we couldn't have gone anywhere but England.
And that covers the period that the authorities say that he was involved in these crimes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Michael, in terms of what happens now, he is being held in a prison. Potentially, how long can he be held for before they decide whether there is actually going to be a trial?
Well, the first time period is 6 months, where they investigate the case. We're putting in applications for bail, but so far these have been unsuccessful. After the 6-month period, they have a month to put together an official indictment. If they decide to put him on trial, the court then considers this the formality of it only, and a trial starts. But trials in Serbia are not like trials here. Once they start, it could go for 2 years, because they have one day sitting and then they adjourn for months and have another day. So potentially he could be in prison for a very long time if our government doesn't get involved in this case. Well,
that brings me to what I wanted to ask you, Zana, which is the family have been asking for the government to get more involved. What else would you like to see the government do here?
I would like some diplomatic pressure, some sort of agreement to be sort of talked about, spoken, because at the moment I feel like a lot of the organisations we're talking to have their hands tied and there's not much they can do. I'm not well versed in what can be done, but I'm just hoping that we can get some help, some kind of pressure, some kind of agreement, just to allow him to, I'm not saying drop the charges, just so he can be allowed to come home whilst the investigation goes forward. Or
The
anything
Foreign
along
Office
those
officials have seen him, am I right?
lines. Yes, they have, yeah. They've seen him and made sure that his health is okay, but it doesn't account for his mental health at all.
Michael, a final thought in terms of the legalities. We're hearing what the family are saying they want from the government. What are your next steps to try to facilitate some sort of development in this, as opposed to what you just outlined, which was a very elongated timeline of him just remaining in a jail?
But of course, we have one outstanding bail application. We hope the courts in Serbia will take that seriously, based on the fact there's only this letter is the real evidence against him, and it wouldn't stand up in any court of law, whether here or in Serbia. So we hope that's successful. If that's not successful, we really do need some intervention, because this doesn't look like an ordinary criminal court process in Serbia. It's something different because there's so little evidence.
Michael Zanuck, we have to leave it there. Just a postscript to this, because the Serbian Public Prosecutor's Office for War Crimes did not respond to the BBC request for comment on this story. There's more on the website. Thanks for watching today's programme. See you next time.